Alright y'all, so welcome back. This week's video is a little bit different format. I am counting down 3 breweries, these 3 secret breweries in Asheville. And instead of doing kind of more of a first person, walking around with a camera, exploring kind of thing, I figured I wanted to try this format out and just kind of see if it had any kind of benefits, what the negatives were, just playing around with some new kind of content. So definitely let me know in the comments if y'all are like enjoying this format of video versus some of the other formats. And I'll try to throw some more kind of stuff like this in if y'all are liking it. Alright y'all, so Zillakoa Brewing is our first secret Asheville brewery, and this one is up Riverside Drive off the along the French Broad River in North Asheville. It is a really sweet brewery with a lot of good beer, and it is fairly popular for how little it's known. You know, it's something that I hadn't heard about until I started doing research for this brewery. But it is on the Lazoon tour, which is the comedy bus tour around Asheville. They do a brewery tour, and so it is on that tour as a stop, and so it is the most popular of the 3 we're going to talk about. But it's a really sweet spot. They have such a great outdoor area, so you can totally see why on a Saturday afternoon when I was there, it would be full of families, people out there, tourists who are there with their kids, having a beer and, you know, letting the kids play out in this massive field or around the fireplace and the hammocks, whatever it be. You know, and they also have a taco truck on premises, which is awesome because they load up these like street style tacos with just a lot of very juicy meat and some onions, cilantro, and a lime wedge, and it just hits the spot after a beer or two. It's just the perfect thing. And when I was there, speaking of beer, what I tried was the pecan smoked lager, or ale. I think it was an ale. Pecan smoked ale. It was really drinkable. Normally I stay away from kind of smoked beer because it's pretty, the smoke taste is fairly overpowering, but on this one, I was surprised because it was like a really good complement to the nuttiness and kind of the light wheat of the ale. So definitely a suggestion if it's on tap there. I think their taps rotate fairly often, so you might miss that one when you're there, but definitely a good one to try out if you're there. They do smaller pours, half pours, full pours, and I think they even have some like big, tall, I feel like someone said it was a liter glass. I'm not positive if it was a liter glass, but definitely worth checking out. So I'll go ahead and link some information and give you the website for Zillakoa, and feel free to check it out next time you're here in Asheville. Okay, so our next secret Asheville brewery number 2 is Braures Kamini. This is a fairly brand new one. I believe it opened in the last 6 months or so, and it is actually the closest one to where I live in East Asheville. It's a brewery that kind of focuses specifically on embracing the history of brewing. You know, obviously there's thousands of years of alcohol, beer brewing kind of history, and so they really kind of look towards that history to inform the way that they make beer, which I thought was really interesting. The bartender at the brewery kind of explained to me what the name means. Brewery is just Flemish for brewery. So not really much there. Cursus is Latin for course, and Kamini is not a real word, doesn't mean anything, but it's kind of a play off of alchemy. So the idea being that this is like a brewery that kind of focuses on the course of brewing history and the kind of chemistry and alchemy that comes from that science of brewing. And so they have a lot of like kind of really interesting, kind of unique beers. I had something called a Rausch beer that I hadn't really heard of that type of beer before, so I had to try it out. It was another smoked beer, so 2 smoked beers in one day. And again, it was a nice smoke. It was a light smoke. It wasn't overpowering. It was great. But the thing that I really, really liked about this brewery was the vibe. It's just set up so nicely in such an interesting way because of what it used to be. It used to be a warehouse in such a fairly like run-down part of town in terms of kind of traffic and stuff like that. So it's really, really tucked back in there in East Asheville. But what they've done is transform this space from what I remember it being like, you know, 8-10 years ago. You know, it's well landscaped. It's got a great area for the kids to hang out. It's right on the river, and then there's this added element of these like old, rusty, broken down trucks from like the 80s and 90s, those like kind of flat cab trucks, just kind of overgrown and tucked back in corners, like they were never moved. They've just been there for 30 or 40 years and they just left them there, and it really adds something kind of cool. Like there was a guy, I believe an employee, who had set up a barbecue stand and was just barbecuing for a Saturday afternoon. I think he was doing some pig and he brought out some French fries. It looked like they had quite a little setup going on. And of course then the staff are completely knowledgeable, because it's so focused on beer science and history, that they are completely knowledgeable about what they have going on. They print a new tap list every single day, so you never know what you're going to get there. It's a really cool brewery, and I definitely suggest it. It's called Braures Kamini, and it is in East Asheville. And I'll link that website down in the description as well. Alright, Secret Asheville Brewery number 3. So, like I said, this one is brand new. It opened in August, and well, the tap room opened in August. This one has an interesting history. It's called Riverside Rhapsody, and it's actually like 2 or 3 blocks farther north from Zillicoa, so it's really easy to hit the two of them in one kind of trip. But the reason I like this one so much was it's, first of all, really small and really unknown. But the brewer who is kind of behind this is actually the in-house brewer for Blue Mountain Pizza, which is one of the first pizza places that I ever ate at when I moved to Asheville. So a lot of like kind of personal nostalgic history there for me. So that's one of the reasons I like this brewery. But it's also a brewery I discovered only last week, just by virtue of driving by. It's not on any really brewery lists, but when I was on my way out to Marshall to shoot the vlog last week, I just happened to drive by it, and since I'd never heard of it, never come across it on brewery lists or anything like that, I figured, that had to be the most secret brewery in Asheville. So, like I said, it's called Riverside Rhapsody. It is, it's a really small little thing in a little house, not exactly on the river. It's kind of across an industrial park from the river, but you can see the river from the window, so that kind of counts. It's got a great little outdoor seating area that's covered, and then it comes with a practice basket for disc golf. So if you're into disc golf or want to try your hand, there are putting discs out there, and you can go and play a little disc golf in the yard. They've got cornhole as well. And then the indoor area was just really nicely done. It's only got the one high top table, but they have a TV if you want to go watch sports. They've got board games and a couple sitting areas at the window. They've got coloring pages. And all that, and then on top of that, the brewing staff are really knowledgeable about the beer. I ended up trying a New England IPA, a New England Session IPA, which was really good, as well as an elderberry saison. Both were really delicious. The elderberry was much more mild and like more of a drinkable beer, a little fruity, but it was really good. But that being said, the biggest reason I like this brewery is there was really no one there. No one really knows about it yet, which is really cool, I think. Because not only are you getting let in on like a little local secret, but then you feel like a local when you're there, because it's just you and some old guy who's there having a couple beers and watching football. So it's a really cool spot like that. Yeah, so I'll link that website as well. Definitely worth checking out. Favorite of the 3 secret breweries in Asheville is Riverside Rhapsody. It just is. Braures Kamini is really cool. It's a cool vibe, but it's a bit busier because it's more well known. It's had features written about it in the paper. There just isn't as much of a personal kind of connection with the staff. Whereas at Riverside Rhapsody, they're not, like, no one really knows they're there. And that could change. I know they're going to start doing more marketing and stuff like that, but that could definitely change. So, we'll see how this video ages. But at the moment, because it was so chill, even on a Saturday afternoon, it was me and one other person. I had a great conversation and good kind of connection with the bartender, and got to go outside and sit around and kind of check everything out. It was really cool. And then on top of that, they have the disc golf practice basket, which, like, for me is just awesome because I love disc golf and I love beer. You put the two together, I can drink a beer and practice my putting, which is definitely the worst part of my game, like, by far. It's a cool little vibe, and it's a cool connection for me because of the connection to Blue Mountain Pizza and and the kind of personal like connection I have to that. So I really like that brewery the most. Definitely suggest checking it out. And of course, as always, check the description for the links to that website. So yeah, those are our 3 secret Asheville breweries. Definitely suggest checking the description for the links to the websites and all that. I think I'm gonna just go ahead and wrap this one up here. Not much more to say. Definitely suggest checking out Riverside Rhapsody if you have a chance. If that's the one brewery you go to out of these 3, definitely the move. But yeah, so check the description for websites to those breweries, and as always, like the video, subscribe, and I will see y'all next time. Bye!